Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelsey Swantek. I'm the Marketing and Communications Intern for the Nebraska Women in Agriculture program. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm excited you're here. This is Open for Business, which is a webinar series that focuses on female agribusiness entrepreneurs. On the second Tuesday of the month, we feature a Nebraska woman in agriculture to show her grit and determination as she shares her stories about how she's overcome business shocks. During our time together, please use the chat or Q&A box located on the bottom of your screen to ask questions if you're on Zoom. If you're joining us on Facebook, you can comment on the live stream and we'll see that there. And we're going to go ahead and address questions as time allows. Tonight, we get to welcome Kaylinda DeTurk, a busy mom, an ag wife, and a multifaceted entrepreneur from Overton, Nebraska. In addition to a photography business and chasing around a bunch of kids, Kaylinda and her husband, Jarod, started AgQ Connect with one clear goal in mind: to support ag from all sides and make the industry better for everyone. So Kaylinda, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to hear what you have for us. To start us off, do you just want to tell us a little bit about your background and yourself and where you are today?
Sure. I'm obviously Kaylinda, and I started, let's start with my kids. I have four. You said I was a busy mom, and I am. I have four kids, 6 for 2 and 8 months. So they keep me very busy. They're in school and other activities and all that stuff. So along with that, I also am a photographer. I do a lot of family sessions and minis. So those also keep me very busy. I also help my husband with his agronomy business. He's an agronomist here locally to this area. And he, so I do like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff for him, like, send out emails and those type of things. I grew up in a welding shop as well. So I'm from like an ag area, but I also it's a little different where I didn't grow up on a farm, but I grew up in a welding shop that my mom and my dad own. And I went to UNK where I actually studied interior design and elementary education, nothing to do with agriculture, but here I am. So that's pretty much my background right there.
I love that you didn't go to school for anything ag, and I think that happens a lot, and I don't think that's talked about enough, but you don't have to be trained in ag to do the ag things, which I think is really cool, and I think that's really unique. A really unique part of ag. There's so much to learn, and you can do it. All you have to do is ask for the help, which I think is really cool. So tell us about AgQ Connect then. What exactly is the business?
Okay, so AgQ Connect is like a simple platform that connects producers with local agronomists that are independent. And this is to provide a one-time, one-issue recommendation without any long-term contracts. AgQ involves 2 parts. So we have the producer and then we have the agronomist. The producer who has a question or an issue with their field and maybe doesn't have the knowledge or the know how to ask for it. And then we connect them with the agronomist who is already in their area and already seeing the issues at hand. We connect the two for a one-time recommendation. Our connection-based platform unites the knowledge of the agronomist to the question or issue with the producer that's struggling with, that I don't feel like that made sense. The producer is struggling with. The system benefits both the producer and the agronomist because the producer may only have one question and he maybe doesn't need an agronomist all the time, but he could really benefit from the knowledge that the agronomist has. So that's where we came up with that one-time recommendation. AgQ is really simple. It's to support agriculture from all sides and help make the industry better for every single person in the industry.
I love that. I think that's really important. So I'm kind of curious, what is an independent agronomist? How do you define that, I guess?
Okay, so my husband's an agronomist and he's not associated with anybody I'm gonna say Pioneer, Bayer, the chemical rep. He's not associated with anybody like that. He's just himself. So he is his own business where he goes out and he'll give you his honest opinion, hey, that is not doing well and it's this reason. And I sometimes think we can get into, not we, but like producers can get into like an echo chamber. Let's say I'm going to use Pioneer as an example. I have nothing against Pioneer. I think they're a great company. I'm just going to use them because they're really well known. If Pioneer's crop maybe isn't doing as well, if one of the Pioneer's sales reps goes out there or one of Pioneer's agronomists go out there, they maybe will be like, well, it's not the product, it's this stuff that you're putting on it. Whereas it might actually be the product. So my husband will be like, hey, this is the issue. So an independent agronomist will actually, they're not tied to anybody. And there are some agronomists who are, and that's okay. If on our form that you fill out, you just have to like kind of say that you are associated with those. And it has nothing to do with, we're not gonna be like, no, you can't be in this. We're just saying, if somebody says, well, I have an issue with Pioneer and I need an unbiased opinion, we wouldn't send that to that person. We would keep it more local to those independent agronomists and not the people associated with that particular issue, with that particular product, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what an independent agronomist is.
Okay, that makes sense. So I looked into it a little bit. I looked into it a little bit, and your website, essentially there's a tab for producers and there's a tab for growers or agronomists and for growers. And whichever you are, that's what you click on, of course. What are the requirements that you need from agronomists as well as growers? I think growers just need to have a question, but what are you actually looking for? What allows them to be an agronomist in your guys' eyes?
Just being an agronomist, basically. So one thing that they do have to do, they have to have is insurance. And that's just, as a business, you have insurance because you just never know what's going to happen. So that's just kind of in the contract. It says that you have the insurance. So that's our biggest thing. But honestly, as long as you have, there's 3 recs. You have to have 3 recommendations. I was trying to look at the thing in my head. Yeah, there's 3 recommendations at the end. And we will call people to ask, kind of like, is this, because if someone fresh out of college who's never done it before is like, oh, I'm going to go out and like do this, that's great. We have no problem with that if they're under somebody who will check out those recommendations for them. One thing that we really think is a great idea is if maybe my husband worked for an agronomist before he became his own. And he thought that would be a great idea. Like when he was working under that guy, to maybe get some more experience, like as an agronomist on his own, he could take on some of these recommendations and he could go out and do those. And then if he had any questions, he could run it by his actual, like his boss, who's been doing it for a long time, and kind of make sure that he's doing it correctly. And it would just give some of them experience. And also we would know that they were like correct. So we thought it would be great. We thought it would be great for people to do, like people who do have a lot of people that work under them. This would be a great service for them to like start building up their own clientele too, because that would be great. If somebody loves working with you, we have no problem if they like decide to sign with you, like for like a year-long contract. That would be amazing, because our whole point is to keep the independent agronomists like alive and kicking here in Nebraska. Whereas some like corporations are kind of eating up the agronomists, and then they get in that echo chamber that we do not think is as beneficial as an independent agronomist can be. Did that answer the question?
What about as far as like education? Are they required to have any sort of degree, or do they have to have their certified crop advisor license or certification? I don't remember what that is.
So there isn't one. In order to, like, Jared's my husband. He has his sprayer's license so that he knows. Yeah. So he has that, but it's not required to have anything like that. Okay. As an agronomist, he thinks it's smart to have that, just because then you can like make those recommendations and stuff without having anything to really like, it kind of just gives you another credit, I guess, your agronomy. But there's really you don't even need a degree to be an agronomist either. But like someone on like some apprenticeships are nice, or something similar to that, where you've worked with someone or you are working with someone. Another thing we really think is great is for those who want to get out of agronomy, but still kind of just want to keep their foot in the door. So like retired, because their expertise is just like, and their knowledge base is so vast that to lose that would just be so detrimental. So we thought it would be great for those guys who really kind of want to get out, but can't make the full move. So we think that it's so beneficial for everybody in the agronomy field, like from starting out to wanting to retire. It just helps really everybody.
Yeah, that's really cool. It was actually the ag teacher before the one that I had. He still lives in town. And he always says retirement is being as busy as you want to be. And so I think that's a really cool opportunity. It's kind of like the DoorDash thing that like they offer all the time. You just work as much as you want to, which I think is a really cool option especially for retired people.
It's funny that you say it because the business model that we follow is the aggregator business model, which is like Airbnb, Lyft, DoorDash, those type of things.
Yes.
Where you have ours would be the producers need, they have a question or concern in their field, but they don't have the necessary means to like figure it out, which some do, but some don't. And this is where the agronomists who have this knowledge base are already there. So we have the question, which is like, I'm going to say Airbnb, so that's like the property. And then we have the producers who have wait, that was confusing. I just confused myself. So sorry. The producers who have the question are like the renters, I guess, who need the property. And then the agronomists who have the knowledge, whereas they're like the Airbnb people who have the properties. There we go. I confused myself. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I think that's a really cool business model. And like, you're just kind of the facilitator. You don't have to own anything or be anyone necessarily, but I think that's really cool. Yep. From the grower side, are they paying per recommendation? Do they pay a monthly fee? How does that work?
It's just per recommendation. So if you only need one recommendation, let's just say like, especially like right now with everything inflation and everything being crazy, like you can't really mess around and be like, I'm just going to guess and put this $7 chemical on this here or whatever. I don't know how much it is even now, but you put that on your field and like, okay, let's just hope it works. Whereas you could pay the one-time fee and you can get an agronomist in your area who's probably already dealing with those same things to give you exactly what he's doing in his other fields and be like, hey, this is what's working. And then, but you can ask, the recommendations can be unlimited. Like you can ask every single time. It's just, you only get one recommendation per, payment, I guess.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so how far right now does like AgQ reach? Is it just in the Kearney area or is it?
Since we are new, we hopefully will be all in Nebraska. But we will be statewide. If somebody comes to us from the eastern half, we will find an agronomist there that if we don't have one already, we have a few signed up that are like willing and ready to go. We'll contact some because we are part of NICA, which is Nebraska Independent Crop Consulting Association. And so we can contact through them and we can get some agronomists in the area just to kind of get out there and go do some stuff. Or if we're in the northern, we broke it up into different divisions on the website so that we kind of know where everybody's from. And then agronomists pick where they're excited, not excited. I can hear my kids outside. I'm sorry. Where they're local to. And if they're right on the line, they could pick both. If they're willing to go either way, or if they're like in the corner and they want to go to all four of them, they can. We broke it up into that just to kind of make it easier. So we hopefully will be all in Nebraska. But right now, I mean, it's just wherever the agronomists have signed up at.
Okay.
It'll happen. It'll work. The whole state will happen.
Cool. That's exciting. So backtracking, I guess, a little bit, where did you actually get the idea to start this business?
So Jarod's currently graduates on Friday from K-State with his master's in ag business. And he was kind of thinking through some things that he was going to do for his thesis. And as he was like looking at all of the research topics and like things that he could really like, be beneficial to his business, because a lot of the things are with masters are people work for other companies and then they try to make those companies better. Well, he owns his own business. So he was really trying to like figure out exactly what would benefit his business. And this is where kind of he saw a So there's three segments. I'm just going to talk, this will be easier to explain. There's three segments that we saw within the producer and agronomist realm, I guess. One is the person who absolutely loves everything about having him as a full service agronomist, like absolutely loves it. They can call him anytime. Like, you know, he helps with their planners, all this stuff. So there's a guy that wants the full package. They're amazing producers that, you know, see the benefit in that. And then there's the producers who are also amazing, but they do not see any benefit in agronomy. So they're out. They're not our market. These guys aren't our market. These guys see the benefit. So they have their full-time agronomist, which is amazing. And then these guys, they don't care. So they're out. Then there's this huge market segment that we saw that's missing because they see the value in it. And we did a lot of surveys, so many surveys. They see the value in agronomy. They just don't want somebody full-time. They don't want to pay for a full-time agronomist. They don't want to have someone, they don't want to sign a fully like a year-long contract. So that is where we saw Jarod. Actually, I did not see any of that because it's not what I do. He saw that market and he was like, we really need to tap into that. So that's kind of when we started researching and here we are. So
this, you might have just answered this question, but I feel like you definitely have a problem you're trying to solve, which I think most businesses do. And I've talked to some people where it was like, there was like a last straw or there was like something that's happened to them and they just like snapped and they were like, I can't not start this business. Was there anything like that for you guys?
Okay. So I told you I grew up in a welding shop, where my parents owned their own business. So I've always kind of had that, like, I mean, we would go on vacation and we'd stop at a steel mill. Like it was no big deal. That's just what we did. And so that was no big deal for me. And since I was young, I've always wanted to own my own business, which I do. I'm a photographer and Jarod also owns his own agronomy business. So we have those steps, but we wanted something. We were always looking at something more, like we just wanted something more. And when he brought this idea to me, I'm like, this is what Nebraska needs. Like, and we don't want to be just Nebraska. We would love to be the whole like producer area, like Kansas and Iowa and North Dakota and all of them. I don't really know if South Dakota, wherever there's corn, wheat, those type of things, we would like to be there. But for right now, we're going to be in Nebraska. And Nebraska is very ag centered. So we just know that it's going to be so beneficial for so many people. And I think what annoyed Jarod was that he would talk to somebody and they'd work for one of those bigger corporations. And he's like, I don't think you're being completely like open about some of the things that you're seeing because it would maybe
those biases are like very present, I think, a lot of the time.
Yes. And so that kind of like bothered him a little bit. So I don't think there was any like one person specifically, but he just kind of like as a whole. And he was like, I need to keep these independent agronomists like going. And we need to keep these because otherwise you're going to get in there and then all the fields are going to be whatever is good that year. And then if there's an issue, like you're not going to really know if it's truly being answered or not. So that's where I don't know if I really answered your question, but that's kind of all the things that rolled into one little ball.
Yeah, no.
It kind of just grew from there. And then the idea was we like went through the idea so many times that, you know, sometimes when you go through an idea, you're like, oh, yeah, that's not going to work. Like, that's just not going to work. Like, I don't see that happening. And we couldn't, it was about a year and we just could not find a problem with it. And if we did find a little problem, it was easily fixed. So that's how we kind of just knew.
And especially like we talked about already is like, you aren't the people with the problem or the people with the solution necessarily. I'm sure Jarod like works with it a lot, but you're like just the connection platform. So especially like going into it without like hiring employees and having all these people on backup and ready to go, I'm sure that was terrifying.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we have one gal that works for us. I think you talked to her, Lindsay, but she works with us and she's very helpful. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, there's really not a lot that had to go into it that was super terrifying, but yet the biggest scary thing is insurance. Everything has to have insurance. And I don't, like we're not even really doing anything. Like we're not out there checking this. I mean, Jarod will check some fields if he needs to, but he has his own business that has insurance, but then like we have to have insurance too. And I'm like, but we're not even really like, I don't know. Insurance is a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story, but yeah. I guess I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, that makes sense to me at least. What did your business plan look like from the start when you started AgQ, and how has that evolved to what you are today?
so since we are a young company, it really hasn't changed like at all.
Okay.
We kind of had an idea, and then when we met with our lawyers and everything to like write up contracts, because our contracts had to be pretty much like ironclad for both, because when we have one with the agronomist that says like, I am an agronomist, like I will do these things for you. And then we have one with the producer that says like, what I am giving you, the information I am giving you is correct. So it's not like, they're not super overly complicated or anything. We just wanted to cover both people. So if someone says this field is not organic and they sign that it's not, and then we come to find out it is organic and they sprayed it with something, like it saves everybody. So when we met with the lawyers, that was kind of a tangent, sorry. When we met with the lawyers, we kind of went through everything, and then our business plan really didn't change from that, because they've like thought it was so good. That sounds horrible, but like they thought it was good that when they picked it apart a little bit, like we had answers for most of the stuff so that we could kind of like talk about it before having to change anything.
Yeah.
But what we see now is we just see producers for like agronomists, but we would love to see AgQ Connect as more of any services for producers. So it would be like, I don't know, drones or something like that, any service that a producer would like to use for like a one-time recommendation. We would be that connection platform for them. So I could see our business plan changing with those things as we go, but it hasn't changed really.
Okay. So you and I talked a little bit before this, and you said you haven't really being so young, you haven't really had a business shock yet. But I think you answered this question, but just to kind of throw it out there, by itself, how have you prepared, or have you to face any business shocks that might come your way?
As being business owners prior to that, AgQ as itself, we know that it's going to have growing pains, because like DeTurk Ag is small enough that only it's just Jarod, and he doesn't plan to expand. Like, so what he has is what he has. And then I'm a photographer, so I really don't plan on getting I don't want to go travel the world and take photos of like celebrities or anything. So those are very central to like our core groups of like area. Whereas AgQ Connect, we want to be much larger than that. We see it being so beneficial to Nebraska and the surrounding states. So we really, even Texas, I know Texas has agronomists, like we know there are going to be so many growing pains that come with that. And that's fine. We're ready and willing to take those on, but you can't see what's going to happen, especially with like now with like the economy and everything like that. So it's kind of scary that way, but we'll just take them like one punch at a time, I guess, because otherwise I just don't think you can plan for anything. We just want to be protected. So that's why we have insurance.
Insurance. Yeah.
And we have
That's
lawyers.
the takeaway from tonight. Insurance,
lawyers, and accountants. Those are the good ones. So those are the things that we like kind of have to protect ourselves. But other than that, like, I don't really know. I just, with ag, you just never know with what's going to happen either. Yeah, like
that's for sure.
Like $7 corn, $3 corn. Like you just never know. So I think AgQ Connect can really help with like right now with like the inflation stuff, because of, one recommendation is, instead of trying those things out, like I said earlier, like instead of being like, oh, I'll just try this, it's no big deal. Like, no, we can't do that because it's crazy out there. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question really, but I feel like that's my overall theme. I don't know if I answered the question, but.
So I don't think you said, when did AgQ actually like launch officially?
So actually it just launched this year, and it launched in 2021, but we didn't actually push it until this year, where we're actually out there. So we have,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to say, so it's really quite, we've already really pushed out to agronomists because of like NICA and stuff like that. We've presented at a couple of their meetings and stuff. So that's where we got a lot of our agronomists signed up, but now we're just focused on like the producers and stuff. But I'm really not that worried about it because people, I think that the older generations are really like, they're like, wow, this is really cool. Like, and then the younger guys, like they totally get it. And gals, there's some girls out there too. They get it too. Cause they're really like, they know that your Airbnb and the Uber and that kind of stuff, like model. Mm-hmm. So they're like, wow, that's a really good idea too. So I think, yeah, so we are really, really new. So I can't really, so I guess I never told you that. Surprise. But it'll launch in 2021, but 2022 is our big push into everything.
So then because you are that new, has COVID had any impact on your business at all?
No. And it wouldn't either, because if anything, it would be beneficial to it because, like I said, with inflation, I feel like that tied in hand in hand with just everything going on, where we're saving agronomists money, or not agronomists. Agronomists are saving producers money by giving them the actual like information that they need. But also agronomists don't really have to talk to you in person. They can just go out, check what they need to check, and then send you an email. So it's
an introvert's dream. Wow, that's amazing.
Right? Which my husband is. He's such an introvert. Like I'm like more extrovert, but he's very introvert, and he really likes, he just like, I mean, he can talk to his core customers, but yeah, you just go out, check your field. And like, he worked all through 2020 and everything, because you could. So right. It wouldn't have bothered it really at all.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what challenges, if any, have you faced as a female in ag and an entrepreneur? Like we're just tacking all of them on here.
Okay. So I'm 5 foot tall. Like I am not very tall at all. And I'm pretty spunky. So I think I'm going to use the word spunky. I think that sometimes people men in general can underestimate you as a woman. Also because I'm very small, which is, it seems funny, but you like think about it, like I told you I was a teacher. I have my teaching license. I am like the same size as 3rd graders. So people like really, they look at you and they're like, wait, what? So I think that sounds stupid. Like my height is my problem, but I think it's a very real thing though. Yeah, like I appreciate the honesty on that. I think people underestimate my height, like me as a person, because I'm smaller. And my husband's actually only 5'6" as well. So we're both like, we're like a small power couple. There we go. I love that. Yeah. So, but I don't think, and it's not even the older generation that I think underestimate me. I think it's a younger generation that does too, because I think you just kind of associate like looks and appearance more now than you would when they're older. But I know it sounds silly, but yeah, definitely my height. But I have a very like spunky personality, so I can get things done. But I think they kind of think like once I start talking and I kind of know what I'm talking about, they're like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's the, 3rd grade height that kind of throws people off. So I'm silly, but true.
So you mentioned this briefly, and I don't know why I didn't ask this in, but you said you did a lot of research leading up to starting AgQ Connect. What did that research look like, and how did you do that, I guess?
That was more Jarod. So he did a lot of it for his thesis. He did a lot, which he's done this week. So that's kind of cool. But so he did a lot of his research. And then we also did it on what model we wanted to use, which is the aggregator model, because we wanted it to be the most beneficial for agronomists and for the producers. We didn't want it to be more beneficial for one and not the other. Whereas since we're the connection platform, we needed it to be equal. And the aggregator business model does that. I mean, it does. It makes it's beneficial for both. Like one person has the knowledge and the people have the question, and it connects the two to make magic happen. So I think that was our biggest research, in figuring out what model we wanted to use to be that beneficial. But the other thing was, is there actually a market missing. Like we saw the market that was missing, but was it actually missing? And what we found out was, yes, it was missing, because there's a lot who do see the benefit in agronomy. They see it, they just don't want the long-term contracts. So we had to figure out exactly how to hit that market. And one thing that's really nice is that I am very active on social media. So I kind of knew how to get out there and do those things. And the things that I couldn't figure out, I found a virtual assistant to do them for me. So that's where we kind of, my research was more, my personal research was more, how do we get the information out to people without confusing them, I guess, because there is two sides to the coin with AgQ. There's the agronomists and the producers. So we're still kind of walking that fine line of giving out the information correctly, but I think we're doing a pretty good job, if I do say so myself.
Awesome. And I think you guys are both, from what it sounds like, you're very much entrepreneurs. That's just your people. That's what you do. So I think you both have the background in starting your own business. So I think that helps a lot of it. And then he, of course, has the background in ag. So I think there was definitely a lot of research to do, but I think it just also made sense for you guys.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. That was a perfect way to put it, actually.
So I lost track of where we're at now. Sorry. What advice would you give to someone if they want to start a business, especially for our women in ag who feel that whether or not they actually are at a disadvantage because they're a woman or because they're a woman in ag or whatever it might be?
Do it. Do it. Because I would rather, this is probably because of how I grew up and just where we are in life, but like, I would rather my children see me put myself out there and try and fail than not try it all. Be like, nope, I'm comfortable here. This is a great idea, but I'm not going to try it because I'm scared. I would much rather them see me go for it, and other people too, just see me go for it, see me run at the wall as hard as I can. And if I can get through it, awesome. If I can't, I tried. So, I say do it, and then research a lot. Research
and insurance and lawyers.
Yes. And an accountant. Get a good accountant. We have the best accountant, and I love her. And she's like another mom. Like, I'm like, I need help here. So, I mean, I'm 32 and I still like, hey, could you help me out here? So, definitely research it. Make sure that just like, I can see a comment. That was cool. I don't Zoom that often. That's one thing I never really had to do with my business. Yes, be courageous and get out there and just try it. The worst thing that can happen is it's a no, like you're not going to die.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right.
Usually you're not going to.
Yeah, especially I think having young kids around. So my mom and my sister are both trained in early childhood education, which you are too. And they always say, like, my sister has 3 kids now, and they're like, make sure you try in front of your kids all the time, because the amount that they watch you try is the amount that they're going to try. So I love that, like, that being a mom thing comes into play here. And I think that is really important. And that's really cool that that's something you think about so much.
So Jarod actually would not have. So when you say, like, my background is more like the entrepreneurial, like, mindset, his was not. It is now. It definitely is now. But before he was just planning to work for somebody and, like, do the 9-to-5 gig and all that stuff. And then, that's not how our life went. And now he cannot, like, imagine working for somebody and, like, having to check in at a 9-to-5 and stuff. So yeah, I definitely, I see an insurance. So anyway,
Dixie's here for the insurance.
I see that. So yeah, he was not, he's like I told you, he's an introvert. He's very, very smart and very, very kind and very knowledgeable, but he's definitely an introvert. Whereas I can, like, talk to anybody. He could not imagine, like, not trying now, like, now that so I definitely think just because now he's even like, let's try, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, it doesn't work out. Okay, then we'll try something new. But at least our children, who, we have 4 of them, saw us
Mhm.
trying something new and not being scared, and actually just like going and living that dream, I guess. So yeah, try.
That's really cool. I love that. So I think this is the last one we have for you, but where can our listeners go to find out more information about you or your business?
So we have a website that you mentioned earlier, agqconnect.com. And then we also are on all the social sites, Instagram for pretty pictures, Facebook for all the information. And then we're also on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So Twitter, I don't tweet that often, so I'm not exactly sure how Twitter works, but I do know that it's very a lot of the agriculture people are on there. So I'm trying to get better, but
Twitter is the place to be, let me tell you.
it is. And I've actually found some really interesting things on there. So we've been really trying to like make that a space. So yeah, and all of them are AgQ Connect. Super simple to find. I think they're linked. I'm pretty sure they're linked on our website as well.
Okay.
But yeah, and then there's also a contact form if anybody has any questions or they want to contact me specifically. If you email, you'll be talking to me, because Jarod doesn't. I don't know if he knows the login. It's fine.
Well, is there anything that we didn't hit that you want to mention quick before we hop off?
I don't think so. I think I went off on like 16,000 tangents. I'm so sorry.
I think it was all very valuable. I think you did very well.
Perfect.
And we didn't even have any questions, so you must have answered everyone's all at once. So impressive. So thanks so much, Kaylinda, for having us, or for coming to join us. And thanks everyone for joining us tonight. You'll be receiving a short survey in your email, and we would really appreciate your feedback if you would do that for us. Our May book club discussion is going to be on May 26th at 6 p.m. Central Time. This month, we are reading Feeling Good Together, The Secret to Making Troubled Relationships Work. David Burns writes this. He's a he's an MD, and I think he's a psychiatrist, one of the two. I don't remember. I should have looked that up. I finally got mine started today, and I'm in love with it already. The discussion, though, we're actually going to be talking to Ashley Machado. She's a life coach and mental health professional who specializes in working with ag professionals and families. So this is going to be really, really cool. More information about the book club and all of our events can be found on our website, wia.unl.edu, or on any of our social media platforms at Any Women in Ag. So thanks again to everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.